and it's a new turn. The threat markers goes to 2, and a threat is revealed this time. And the threat is suffocation. The 5 live stream tiles forced from the citadel are immediately destroyed. As you can see, the mission 2-6, that means this threat is only present from mission 2 from mission 6, and is not present in other missions. So they have to destroy the light paths, the light stream tiles farthest from the citadel. How can you determine if a tile or if a character is far from the citadel? You have just to count the spaces starting from the citadel gates and proceeding outward. Okay, now as you remember, we did the menace increase, the threats. Now the outer lords, heralds, they are not in play, so it's we skip to point 5, that is shadow movement. So you have to throw the gravity die, they obtain alpha, and all the shadows, revealed or not revealed, move towards the alpha axis. Okay, so they move the shadows, and once each shadow has moved, they are questioning if that shadow moves or not. It's better if in this phase each one of you moves the shadows in one of the 4 quadrants of the main board, so this phase is done very fast. And now the shadows that are close to a scout attack that scout. In particular, that highlighted shadow will attack the Menad. So the Menad is evaluating if to discard some cards because the shadow hit, as you can see, the Menad by throwing the shadow die, and the Menad decides to discard 1 card and gets 1 damage, okay, because the shadow is an unrevealed shadow, has a power of 2, because the blips are 2 of life, 2 of attack. This value is variable. Now there is the generating phase, the generation of new shadows from the singularities, and they have to throw the alert die. They obtained a 2 from they throwed for the circle, so they generate 2 shadows for each circle. As you can see, shadows are growing. Okay, it is getting more and more dangerous. This is only turn 2, but Sheol doesn't have many turns. Okay, there is a max of 10 turns, but usually a mission is about 6-7 turns at most. Okay, they obtained a 0 on the other generation die, and they have to flip the singularities. Singularities flip to the danger side, so the next turn they probably spawn more shadows, and they also turn changing the space, the starting generation space. So it's the scout phase again. This time the first to act is the pioneer. The pioneer decides to use its night digger to do a reveal action to destroy these Korabon tokens that block his way, and then to go to place the live stream to reach the land in P9. This because at the end of this scout phase, the Summerfield Shan troops, in particular the one in R9, will advance to the land, destroying it. Okay, so the pioneer moves and reveal that event token. So he has to draw a card from the event deck, draws the card, and it is You find blueprints dating back to the ancient times. Gain 1 development point, so it's a good one. 1 development point is added to the Citadel board. Development points as well as faction tokens or faction points are used to during the development phase to build new districts, to purchase new weapons, etc. Okay, the Pioneer uses all its movement points to reach the land and discover it. As always, a new land card is revealed, and I leave to you the reading of the text, of the intro text when you discover a new land. That is, in this case, the Drained Plant. The Pioneer passes the turn to the Maenad that has quite good cards in her hand. In particular, she is evaluating to use her special card to destroy the shadows that she has nearby, and then to return to the live stream towards the Citadel, because the land she is into is now revealed and it's safe. When the tokens will advance, will not destroy the land. Also, there are some shadows that are heading towards the Citadel, close to it, so she has to return. So she decides to use the Maenad Ecstasy. Maenad Ecstasy is a special live stream card. There is one special live stream for each deck of each scout, and basically she has to pay the Lux, pay the one action to use this card, and then she can move 2 spaces without spending movement points, reveal an enemy adjacent, and then attack. And because the level of the Citadel currently is 1, she can repeat this 1 time. Okay, she jumps, and the minions were okay. It's quite difficult in Tabletop Simulator to keep it good. She jumps. She revealed a Sentinel. A Sentinel is a shadow that has a wider attack range, and it does 1 attack. And once it's revealed, it makes the scout that revealed it to lose 1 movement point. But it doesn't matter for the Maenad, because she is using 3 movements because of the special card we just played, and now has the possibility to immediately attack the shadows using the Coral Javelin. The Sentinel only has 1 life point, so and has an illumination level of 4 because it's revealed. The result is 1, so it's hit and destroyed. So the Maenad can use her ability again, can repeat the effect 1 time, and she decides to use it to move to the Citadel. So basically, with this move, the Maenad avoided to pay many movement points, and she is now returned to the Citadel to aid her allies. So now she passed the turn to the Cyclops. The Cyclops still has some live stream tiles because he did a planned action in the previous turn, so he can move towards the Twilight Land that is currently occupied by 1 shadow. You see the closest land, and he can place some live stream tiles to reach it. So he begins to, during the movement, place the live stream tile. Also, the live stream should be rebuilt because many effects only take place if the scouts are connected. Okay, he reached the land. The land is not discovered because it is currently occupied by 1 blip. So he have to decide to how to destroy the blips. He can use the Bar's bazooka that has a good attack pattern, or the charger luxameter special live stream live shield card. Using the charger luxameter, he will hit all the enemies, paying 1 action and 2 lux within 3 spaces. But he decides to reveal them first to be sure to hit them. So reveals using a reveal action, and the first one is a lurker. Lurker during revelation jumps 1 towards the character that revealed him, and put 1 break marker on the scout's lantern or weapon. Scout choose. So he decided to put 1 break marker on the weapon. In this case, the Breathless could have done the target acquisition to help an ally to hit unrevealed shadows, increasing its illumination level to 2, but it's not connected with the live stream to the Cyclops, so she can't help its ally. Remember that illuminated normal illuminated shadow has an illumination of 4. A blip, on the other hand, has an illumination level of 0. Okay, the Cyclops, because has a huge pattern with his lantern, illuminates also another blip that is Sentinel, and now he could attack. During this action, by the way, he used a lot of lux, and okay, now he uses the charger luxameter, and paying this lux with the charger luxameter, he finished one of his vials. Finished a vial means to recharge, change the number from 2 to 1, and recharge the level to 8. This has also a consequence that all the shadows nearby advance 1 space toward the scout that finished the vial. In this case, for the Cyclops is useful because the blips will advance towards it, because the lurker is already close to him, and the Sentinel does not move because it's a Sentinel, and so does not move. The Cyclops start to throw the die to attack with the specialized stream card. The first is a critic, and the critic of a cycle makes him draw 2 cards. So always drawing cards are good. It's a good thing because you have more cards in hand. You have more shield because when you are attacked, you can discard a card. So the lurker is dead. Now he throws for the blip on the land. It is missed because the blip has a illumination level of 0. He obtained a 3, so is missed. Now he have to throw for the Sentinel. Remember that in this case, that is an area of effect attack. You have to throw a die for each enemy in the area that you attack. But the order is you start with the enemy closest to the scout, and then you proceed toward the enemy that is farther from the scout. And the Sentinel is hit, okay? Is hit, and the damage is sufficient because the Sentinel only has 2 life points, and now he throws for the last blip. Last blip is not hit because he obtained a 4, and the 4 is not sufficient to it. So he destroyed basically the 2 revealed shadows. That is not bad. But was not able to free the land. That still is not discovered. So the turn now passes to the Breathless. The Breathless is on the land and could destroy the lurkers with the streaming rifle, also to proceed with the main goal, or she could try to roll another challenge on the land to reveal other cards, as the mission card says. But the Breathless decides to attack, obtain a 1, so it's sufficient, and the lurker is killed by the Breathless. Streaming rifle as you can see, there are some weapons and some lanterns that are better patterns. This is mission 6, so remember that some of the weapons are unlocked, because going on with Sheol, enemies will get stronger. So the lurkers are destroyed and the mission card is fulfilled, and another one is revealed. The Exiles show you how the synthesizer works, because you kill the lurkers, and effect: place an Exile synthesizer facility token on the land, place the related facility tile on the Citadel board. You can now build this facility on lands. And you have an additional goal. So the first now is unlocked, the Exile synthesizer. This Exile synthesizer is unlocked for all the campaign, and is a facility the scouts can build on lands that grants 1 lux at the beginning of the scout phase. So it's a good idea to build this synthesizer at the beginning of the mission to earn lux during the following turns. Also, the lux and the Umbra, if you build the structures, that is the other facility, it's already unlocked, that is unlocked on the mission 1 of the campaign. You earn the lux only if the scout is connected to the land that produces it. So it's crucial to be well connected in Sheol. In this game they were quite unlucky, because the first menace, the first threat card that was revealed at the beginning of the mission was in fact a threat that destroyed the last 3 tiles. Now, for the mission they have to build facilities, tokens on land, so they start to build a facility. Now they go and get tabletop some facility tokens as well. One, the Pioneer build one on the land, okay, using one action, using the action of the land, and one have to be built, is already built by the mission card also in the land where is the Breathless. They have to still put it in play. You can build facilities in each of the squares of the land. Facilities cannot be destroyed, but if a shadow go over the facility is deactivated. Okay, now the Maenad acts. The Maenad first use her movement points to move from the Citadel to the other side. Remember that the Citadel counts as 1 for movement. Now she is on the Lux Trench and she uses Lightstream Surfer, that she can move without spending movement points to a tile connected to you and within 4 spaces. So with this she moves almost to the land where there is the Cyclops. And now she decides to move again, purchasing some additional movement points. With 1 lux she can purchase 2 movement points. Basically you can increase your movement each time you want, but this makes you to deplete your lux vial. So the Maenad goes over the Cyclops. You can pass freely other characters in Sheol, but you can't stay in the same space with 2 characters at the same time. Okay, so the Maenad is now in front of the shadows. Now the Cyclops decides to use Piercing Detection to do a reveal action to make then the Maenad attack, and reveals with the lantern the 2 shadows, and with Piercing Detection the shadows does not do reactions. In particular the moth will not going back, okay, because the moth is moving back when it's revealed, and the Swarmer is not approaching other shadows. The Swarmer is a shadow that became stronger when it has other shadows nearby. So now, thanks to the Cyclops, the Maenad could attack. Both the shadows are in her pattern, but she can attack one shadow at each time. Okay. Otherwise, the Cyclops to attack it's in a bad position. He have to move to have the shadows in his pattern, so it's better for the Maenad to attack. She could also make eventually, in the case, overload attack to make attack twice. So she decides to roll the challenge overload die. She only get 1 damage to the weapon. The weapon has a durability that is greater than 1, so it's still intact. And then he attacks twice. First is a 3 with a +1 for the first shadow, and then it's a 0 +1 for the other shadow. So both are destroyed. The land is now clean, and the scouts are on it, and the land is revealed. They also gain some Umbra for the killing revealed shadows. Then land is a Twilight Farm is now secured, because the Summerfield troops cannot destroy it since it's discovered. And as always, the land car is revealed. Also, meanwhile, we are searching for the card of the land. The Maenad decides to use inner strength and gets 1 corruption marker on his board to regain 2 lux. This is very useful because she almost finished her vial. The farm at last was found, and you can pause the video as before to read the text if you want. They pass the turn to the Pioneer. The Pioneer has quite good cards in hand. In particular, has 1 card that is Demolition, and with Demolition he could place a Livestream tile using first Trailblazers of Unknown to take extra Livestream tiles, and then place the Demolition, and later, when the shadows will approach the Citadel, he can destroy the Livestream tile to make 2 damage that is could not be parried by the shadows, to destroy the blips that are also a life of 2 that are approaching the Citadel. So he decides to use this move, or he plans, and later, when he can, he will put the Livestream down. Because you remember, to place the Livestream, he can't just place the Livestream wherever he wants, but he has to do a reveal action, but he has no more other actions, or to, because he built the facility, or to move, okay, and place the Livestream while he's moving. Now, because almost all the scouts are out of actions, they evaluate to destroy one of the shadows using one of the districts, in particular the perimeter outposts. That makes you attack any shadows on the main board, dealing 3 damage, but throwing the scout die. So they decide to remove one of the charges from the district and attack the blip that is near the Pioneer. So they roll the die for the attacking with the cannon, and the result, no, is 1, so is not hit. So they lost one of the charges from the cannon, but they couldn't attack the shadow. So it's the end of the scout phase, so each one of the tokens of the troops move. The tokens that reach discovered lands are destroyed, the others that are heading towards undiscovered lands. Now the shadow phase is, the scout phase is concluded, and now it's time to start another turn. So turn 3, another threat is revealed, and this time the second threat card is Impulse. Lurkers and moths have +1 health. All shadows immediately make a movement towards the citadel. Roll the gravity die to choose the axis. It's a quite bad this time, because shadows are approaching, so they have to throw. Oh, and Omega is Omega plus in particular, but this time the plus does not affect because it's not a normal movement, but it's a movement created by the threat. So this shadows goes there and there because she jumps over it jumps over the coral bone obstacle, and I think all the shadows were moved. Now they are searching for a token to place on the moth attack. So they take some tokens and use it to replace the values. So you can always just look at the boards and you have the updated values of their lives. So the lurker is now 2 and the moth has 3. Okay, now let's proceed with the scout phase, and there is the shadow movement, the normal movement. So the gravity die is thrown and is alpha player. This means that all the shadows within 4 spaces from a scout move towards a scout. The only one is the pioneer, and the others will move towards the alpha axis. The shadows are approaching, and this one reached the citadel. When a shadow enters the citadel, the shadow is destroyed, but the citadel lose 1 prosperity point. So from 10, now the prosperity, so that is the life of the citadel, is 9. It's time for the shadows to attack. In particular, there are 2 shadows that could attack the pioneer. The first one through the attack die and is hit, but if he has the circle on the lantern, he can avoid 2 damage. That is the total practically, because but he has no the circle on the lantern. For example, the Cyclops has it on the top, you can see it in the light barrier. So he decides to discard 1 card to parry 1 damage and takes 1 damage. The other one is hit again, if he has the square on the lantern could parry, but he has not the square. So he can either decide to discard the other light shield to parry the other damage, or take both the damage and also changes the vial. So he decides to discard the other card and he takes only 1 damage. There are no other attacks, so in the shadow phase it's now time for generation of new shadows. They throw first the alert die for the circle singularities. The result is 1, so only 1 shadow, and the singularities flip on the danger side because there is the symbol to flip on the die. We also in the last version updated the dice. We decided to make dice with double color, so now the symbol is red, so yours and is white on the danger die. So you always also at distance you can easily notice when you have to change the side of a singularities. The result is 3 on the red singularities that also then gets back to the white side again. and they turn, but they generated 3 shadows. The most dangerous area for now for the citadel is the area on the east side, because there are shadows that are closing to it, and also the live stream tile that is close to the shadows near the alpha axis has an opening at the side of the shadow, so the shadow will not bounce from the live stream tile but will go over it, make it dimmer, so it does one less pass to reach the citadel. Remember that if the citadel is damaged, you can always repair it during the development phase, but you have to spend points, so you spend points that usually you use to purchase new equipment, so you can't waste too much points for repairing the citadel, so you have to avoid the damage at the beginning during the missions. Okay, now it's the scout phase again, so everyone draws new Lestron tiles, you light shield cars, and refills the points. And now the Breathless, it's again on the land, where she can ask the questions to the exiled camp, and could roll again the die to make the challenge. Remember also that during the scout phase this time there are also some facilities that produce the lux, so some of the scouts will gain some lux from the facility production. The Pioneer and the Cyclops get one of the lux points produced by the facilities, and the Breathless throws again for the challenge, the 2 challenge overload die, and succeeds. She obtains 3, that was also the target, so a new card, remember from E to G, is revealed. This time is the card F. So F says you ask another question about the musical instruments, and they answer that is part of several exiled tribes of the culture. However, this musical instrument can allow shadow control, but they are more for avoidance. Among them, there are ones who can build them. So now you have to perform 2 land exploration actions into different lands, and in this case you gain 1 development point. So this is actually, it seems optional, this card, but having development points is very useful for the development phase. The first who does the exploration is again the Breathless, that to do that has to use one of her 2 scout tokens. She takes the scout tokens, place the scout token, place it on the land card, and then in the correct place, and then she has to draw one of the 2 exploration that are connected to each land. In Sheol, each land has 2 unique exploration, and when an exploration is done, you have to remove it from the deck. There are 50 exploration in total. The exploration drawn is rituals. So to resolve an exploration, you have to first read the text above, and then you have to take a choice. Sometimes there are 3 choices, or there are 2 choices like this one, but the second one is a challenge, so it has a success or a failure. So this time you are walking among camp tents when you hear a chant originate from the area near the largest one. There is a chancer burns umbra crystals and with the black smoke, and you have to choose if you join the exiles or if you decline. If you decide to join and accept to breath the black smoke that is with the black tide of Sheol, and it has some tide inside, you have to do the challenge. So the Breathless decides to do the challenge, because apparently she is very good at doing challenges. So she breathes the black smoke. She rolled the dice and this time failed because she only obtained one success and she has not the archetypes required to have some bonuses. So the fail effect is you inhale the smoke and immediately lose control of your body because of the corruption. You awaken later and the exiles laugh at you. This is the lore text, and then you take one corruption marker and shuffle one disturbed in your deck. But the engineer faction gains one faction point. That is very important because, as you can see, each outcome awards you with a faction point of one of the three factions. These are not casual, it depends of the behavior you take during the challenges. So another disturbed in the deck of the Breathless that has to do something during the development phase later, because disturbed are not good because they discard your cards from the deck. Okay, so it is complete and the exploration is now removed from the game. The goal is to perform 2 explorations, so it's now the turn of someone else, in particular the Cyclops decides to do an exploration in the land he's on. This is the Twilight Farm, so you have to spend as the Breathless the tokens and then draw the exploration card. This time the exploration is the mall. As you make your way between the tents, you hear an anguished squeak of a milk mole tied up behind a water tank. Okay, so this time the mole is injured and you have to decide to help the animal, sharing your medical kit, or you can't waste your resources on an injured animal. The mole's owner will just have to accept that we are good persons and the Cyclops in particular is a good person, so he decides to help. Also, he has one of the archetypes weapons, the one with the shields, that grants him one additional point, one extra point for the challenge. So he throws the die and obtains 4 successes. So this time the challenge is succeeds. And effect: using a shoot your laser and an antibacterial ointment, you manage to save the animal. The owner is indebted with you. So the Cyclops gains 2 Umbra and the party gains 1 exiled faction token. This will be very useful during the development phase. The mission objective as well is fulfilled because they perform to a land exploration and the party gains 1 development point and the card is discarded. Now the Breathless again does the last challenge of the land and the mission card G is revealed. So this time finally the exiled answer all your questions, and once the text is read there is an instant effect, that is, if you completed F and E, reveal H, discard D and discard G. So finally the card H is revealed. You are still asked questions when an agonizing scream startles you. Soon after, a barrage of bullets hits your armor. You can't believe it, a shadow is shooting at you. Effect: place an Hunter Herald in K5. Objective: destroy the Hunter at completion victory. So this is the last step of the mission, and this time there is an Herald. If you remember, Heralds are stronger enemies than normal shadows, and Heralds has different illumination levels. Also, we did some modifications on the herald's behavior, in particular with the reborn phase, that are not in this gameplay. The herald revealed is the hunter and has a deck of reaction. Practically, the edit we did is dividing the reaction deck and the reborn deck. This is the new setup of the herald. On the top there is the reaction deck, then you can see the blue cube on the illumination track that starts from 0 and raises to 2 and then to 4, and below now the retaliation track has a card below it that normally is used the back of the card, that is an attack icon. So when the retaliation track is full, you have to do an extra attack, but when the herald life goes to 0, you have to flip the card below, and when the retaliation track reach the card, the herald reborn with a different reborn. It depends of the deck of the card revealed. This track recharges 1 step for each action done by the scout. Let's return to the game. Okay, now it's Scout's turn, and the Pioneer decides to moving back to the Citadel and going out to illuminate, to reveal the Herald. The Herald spawn in a quite lucky place for the Scout because it's at the center of their fire. They are lucky because they are already positioned. So the Pioneer first decides to spend an action and raises the illumination of the Herald to the max. The Herald illumination is basically 0, like the base shadows, but with a reveal action its illumination level goes to 4, so you have to move the track of illumination track to the number 4. Once this is done, each time the Herald is attacked by the Scout, he will do a reaction. The reaction could make lower the illumination level of the Herald. So now they're preparing to attack. In particular, the Cyclops has a very good weapon that could make heavy damage, but the Cyclops does not move during the turn. So, because of the Cyclops actually did not move, decides to do an overload attack. So he takes the challenge overload die and throws it. The result is 3 damage for the Cyclops weapon. The Blast Bazooka has only a durability of 2, so the weapon is broken and is flipped to the other side. The weapon should be now repaired, paying 1 action and 4 Umbra. But the attack lands, so the attack is anyway performed against the Herald. The Cyclops also plays Brother in Arms, that during attack action, if there is at least one ally within 5 spaces, deal +1 damage. So he has 5 base damage plus 1 of Brother in Arms. We also use Shockwave, but as alternative effect, so as a discount, because attacking with Overload costs to Cyclops 2 lux, so he spared 1 lux. He throws the die and the Herald is hit with an additional damage, and so it's a total of 7 damage. Now during the gameplay there was a little error, and they put 8 markers instead of 7 on the Herald, but it was only 7. Remember that also on each action you can use a max of 2 light shield cards. The first one could be a modification of the action, like in this case, that raises the damage, and the second one is one alternative effect. So now that the Herald is hit, you have to
to draw a reaction that is, in this case, is jam. Put 2 break markers on the weapon that dealt damage. And this also was lucky because the weapon was already broken, so practically there is no effect. And also there is no illumination decrease or retaliation track increase. So that was very lucky this time. Now the Breathless basically has the Herald in sight of his weapon, so she can attack to make the 2 additional damage to damage the Herald. Also the Pioneer could attack as well, because with the Lux, with the flash gun, he's near to the Herald. The Breathless decides to let the Pioneer attack, and the Pioneer attacks, throw the die, pay the Lux and the action, and the Herald is hit with 1 because the illumination level was 4. So now the Hunter is dead, or better, is reborn. Now with the new system you have to draw a card from the reborn deck, but in this gameplay they have to look for the reborn rule on the reaction deck, because as I explained before, it was the same deck. Okay, so now instead we separated it in 2 parts to make it better for the reborn states, so our Herald is not connected always to the same reborn rule but could change, and this gives more variability to the gameplay. So basically the Hunter now spawns near the scout that killed it. If the scout is inside the citadel, it spawns near the scout with the most Lux. But this happens when or after the scouts do 3 actions. So they have to do 3 actions. And one of the questions could be, what if they don't do any action? If they don't do any action, actually the Herald does not spawn, but they are going to lose because the other shadows will move toward the citadel. So the Herald is moved to the game, from the game, and they have to execute 3 actions. Then the Herald will return, and they have to kill the reborn form that is a little more powerful. But if they manage to kill it, they will win the game. The first action they do is the repair of the weapon of the Cyclops. Cyclops decides to pay 1 action and repair the cannon. The second is the Maenad, that in the Twilight Farm open the shop, and as before she has to place the scout token and then gets the shop cards related to that land level that are Stroke Accelerator. It's the first one, it's a very good one, and the other is a Repairing Paste. This is useful for reparation. The Cyclops already repaired, so it's no needed for him to buy one. So the Maenad decides to pay the Umbra and get the Stroke Accelerator to attach it to her weapon. 3 actions are done and the Herald came back in play. The scout phase is almost finished, so the Herald soon will attack during the shadow phase, and it will target the scout who sent him in this stage. So practically the Pioneer. The Pioneer only did less damage to the Herald, but is targeted by the Hunter. Hunter also has a lot of movement, has 4 movement points, so the Pioneer could not escape. So the Pioneer is intelligent and decides to do quite a smart thing. He decides to build a live stream tile with a shield near the Hunter. Making this move not only makes the Herald to not move, so the Herald will not target other allies, will focus on the Pioneer that is close to him, but also going on the live stream tile with the shield will prevent 1 damage to the Pioneer. Then we have to scale a little the models of Tabletop Simulator because they collide too much. And then now the scout phase is finished, and it's finally the shadow phase. As always, the threat counter goes on the number 4, and a new threat is revealed. This time is counterattack. If you don't kill a shadow with a single attack, it counterattacks after. It does not apply to hyper shadows, and not also to Herald or Outer Lords, but because only says shadow and not enemies. So in this stage of the game they don't have to worry too much. Then, as always, there is the Herald. Outer Lord acts, but there are no Outer Lords, but it is the Herald. So the Herald this time attacks. His pattern has already the Pioneer in it, and he does 4 damage. So it throws the attack die, shadow attack die. And rolling the die, the result is hit and with a square. So if the Pioneer had a square on the lantern, he will get 2 damage less. So there is a hit, it's 4 damage for the Pioneer, but this is on the Lightstream tile, so only 3 damage because he has a shield, and he decides to discard the Light Shield cards to parry all the damage, because the Pioneer only has 5 lux left, and it's the last vial. If he finishes the vial, he gets corrupted and is close to death. Now it's time to other shadows to move, so they have to throw the gravity die, and the result is Omega and players. So all the shadows near the scouts will move for the scouts. For example, the shadow that just moved deactivated the production of the Lux synthesizer. The others will move towards the Omega axis. This as well will move towards the Omega axis. The shadows goes over the live stream because it's open. The other facilities deactivated, and the shadows entered the land. So the movement is now complete of the shadows, and there is an attack, and then there is the generation. They notice that there is a shadow that have to attack, and in this case there are both the Cyclops and the Maenad in the pattern of the same shadow. So the shadow will attack the one with the most lux. In our case, the one hit is the Maenad. It's 2 damage for the Maenad, and the Maenad decides to discard 2 Light Shield cards to parry the damage, because they are near the end of the game, and also she will refill the Light Shield cards at the beginning of the scout phase, so she decides to parry everything. Also because she's finishing the vial, taking 1 damage will make her change the vial, and changing the vial means that all the shadows there are nearby within 4 cells will advance toward the Maenad. Now there is the generation from the red singularity, first the singular singularities, and then from the triangular. As you can see, there are many shadows now in play. They are at turn 4, and they are already near the victory, because they also were quite lucky with this battle with the Herald. But imagine if there will be another turn. If there will be another turn, the shadows are very close to the citadel. Also, if a threat or an effect or something else makes the shadows enter the citadel, the situation was very bad. Also because they were very good in not making the Sommerfeld troops enter the lands, because in this mission, a little spoiler, but is not seen in this gameplay, is that when you make one of the Sumerian troops enter one of the lands, this trigger a card that actually attract the shadows. So the army makes noise and attract the shadows, so all the shadows move and spawn from some points and move towards the citadel, so the situation will be very worse than it is now. Okay, so now during the scout phase they are all focused on making the attacks towards the herald. There is also a generation of lax points from only one of the facilities, that is the one near the Breathless, but the Breathless uses her turns to play the challenges, and she did not attack so much, so she has quite plenty of lax. The Breathless decides that is her turn to attack, so she uses the overload of the streaming rifle, because now the herald has a shield of 1, so 1 of the damage is automatically parried and 2 damage is too low, so she decides to first use the overload to dealing a base damage of 3. Then she uses the card Holding Breath. Holding Breath makes, if she does not move, to hit the enemy as it is fully illuminated. Also, the streaming rifle has an ability that the Breathless has to throw 2 dice instead of 1 and takes the best result. So she does also a critic hitting the herald, and for the Breathless the critic is dealing 2+ damage. So it's a total of 3 base damage plus 2, but the shield of the herald is 1, so it's only 4. Also, the reaction of the herald is heal 1 damage and reduces its illumination level, but its illumination level is already 0 because no one illuminated it. So now they ask for the Pioneer to illuminate the herald that has only 3 life points left. So the Pioneer decides to do a revelation on the herald, and then the Maenad approaches to deal the killing blow. The Maenad wants to be sure to hit the herald and deal enough damage, so the Maenad decides to use a light shield card as well, and decides to do the overload attack. Using the overload, the Maenad plays a card that is Master Weapon Specialist. During an overloaded attack action, don't roll the challenge overload dice, so she does not, don't worry to hit to break the weapon, and also uses a discount for the action. So she attacks and attacks twice, and with these attacks, after rolling the die, the herald is finally killed. And this is the end of the mission. The mission is now accomplished. The damage to the herald is done, and the herald is dead. That is also is the main objective of the mission cards. So now it's time to return to the mission manual first, and then it's time to proceed to the phase in between missions, the development phase. So let's now take a look to the mission manual, the briefing first, and here we have the mission conclusion text. You can read it optionally. Then we have 2 info boxes, one about the hunter, one about the stability, and then the most important part, the rewards of the mission and the unlocks. In our case, the Scouts team is awarded with 1 Luminary faction point, 1 Engineer faction point, and 4 development points, and also is unlocked the next mission. This is a tough mission, so they have to equip very well. So now it's time to proceed to the development phase.